So I joined the school in 2019, so it'd be a bit unfair for me to say how it's developed since 2012, but what I would say is bringing two different schools together in a new building would be a massive challenge for anyone, and I believe the previous head would have done great with that. From my own experience, I think since 2018, when the previous head, Mr. Hughes, when he started, I think it's changed a lot. I think standards have drastically improved. Upon speaking to staff that have been here for a long period of time and through that development, that they would echo that. I think the fact that the amount of students that want to come here now is really, really high within a local authority. You may have saw in the news recently that our school is going to be expanding. And I think our reputation within the city has drastically improved as well, just through the amount of different head teachers across Wolverhampton that want to come and visit our school each day and visit our alternative provision setting that we have here. So I think it's developed in a number of ways, but I think the previous heads along the way have really given it a good foundation for us to move up. I think education in general has changed drastically in the last 10 to 15 years. I've been a teacher for just over 20 years now, and thinking when I first started to what education is now, it's so different. But I think a big change that has happened recently is when COVID happened. So back in the 2019-2020, when COVID happened, I think a lot of the country really struggled with that, and I'd like to think that we did some specific things during COVID with our routines for learning, the way that children move around the building, the way they come into school, the way they leave school has had a massive change. I think our expectations are really high, and we maintain that during COVID and afterwards. There's a very small amount of students that struggle to meet that expectation, but I think we support the children and the families well here. The special educational needs support that we have here has been quality assured by external professionals that it's now better than it was previously. And the real thing that I'm so proud of is how we've developed our alternative provision offer here. Previously, a number of students who now go into our own alternative provision would have had to go to another setting. A lot of schools in the city don't have their own setting like that, and their students have to go elsewhere. So it's really good that we can support our students that way. I started Year 7 in 1993, and I finished sixth form in 2000. So when I went to school, everyone wore a uniform, and uniform was pretty good, but it wasn't held in the same esteem as it is now. I don't think uniform gave me and the pupils at my school that kind of sense of togetherness and team that it does now. As a result of that, I think standards were much sloppier when I was at school. I think schools were far less safe when I was at school, for example, and some parents may remember what their school education was like, but when I went into the toilets in Year 7 at my school, which was a very good school at the time, you would go into a puff of smoke from the 20 or 30 children that would be smoking cigarettes in there. You would be really scared, really worried in that environment. Some people wouldn't want to go in as a result. I think you used to hear myths of having heads put down toilets and all things like that during that time. I think PE, I was a PE teacher, but when you did PE as a student, the things of having to shower with everyone, and the staff insisting that you would shower without your clothes on. Nowadays, people would turn their heads at that. At that time, it was absolutely normal that things like that would happen. That the level of teaching was nowhere near as good as it is now, nowhere near as detailed. You would be expected to just know how to do certain things, and if you struggled with reading, for example, you'd often be mimicked. And the last one I will remember is, some parents and older communities may remember the old blackboard, the old chalkboard that we had during those days, and it wasn't uncommon for the chalkboard rubber, which was almost like a small house brick, not as heavy, but a small house brick being thrown across a classroom at students. Obviously nothing like that happens at school now, so I think the expectations are much higher. But I think that definitely the children here, from what I see now, the overwhelming vast majority, they've raised to that expectation, and we see some really good grades now, and a number of children that are first generation pupils going to university, which I think is phenomenal. I think the future of this school is really, really exciting. As I alluded to before, in the news this weekend, is the expansion of our school roll. The fact that people are wanting to come here is absolutely brilliant. Now, with that additional funding that comes with that comes modifications to our already wonderful building. I think anyone that comes into this building anyway at the minute is shocked at how good it is compared to other provisions, but adding to that will be great. With the teachers we have here and the curriculum we have and the support staff we have here, the future is really, really bright for anyone that comes into this building, because they're really, really likely to succeed. One thing we are missing at the minute is those academic grades on a bigger scale, and I truly believe, starting with the current year 10, that they'll be the first to really see that up push in grades. We changed our curriculum when they were in year 7, and I really think we'll start to see those grades reflecting that change to curriculum, those pupils doing better than previous years, while still maintaining that personal development offer that we do to make the community stronger. So, you know, a brighter community, more aspirational community, but also people that still get the things away from academic grades, that are going to build their character, that are going to make them more employable and make them better citizens in general. Well, I think what the wider community on the whole have seen as a result of our expectations is that the school is much calmer. Which means it's safer, and it means it's a platform where children can learn and the teachers can teach. We have a very, very small amount of parents that sometimes kick back about our expectations, but you know, being a parent myself, I have been and visited schools where I want my children to go, and if I wasn't happy completely with where my children go, I wouldn't send them there. So like all parents, I have a choice in where my child goes to school, and you know, parents have that here, and the fact we have over 330 children wanting to come here, ultimately for 200 spaces, I think speaks volumes. We have an open week, and I tell parents how the school operates, and then it's up to them, and the fact that we're having over 130 apply for the school, he's down to the choice and obviously liking what they see. I think the area has developed recently as well, as much more houses closer by, so geographically people will always look at the schools that are close to them, but what we can't forget is, for the first time in our history, for our school and the predecessors, that we are an Ofsted Good school. And when it's the government's quality assurance team that are coming in to say that the school is good, and it's not me or any other staff or pupils, that speaks volumes, because parents will look at that Ofsted grading. But I think it is just been down to the reputation it builds, because you know, word of mouth is the best form of advertising, and when people are going back and saying, I'm hearing good things about SWB, I'm hearing good things about this, and that's across the city, I think we've saw the increase not just at year 7 but within our sixth form as well. We're now getting students in sixth form that are coming from the complete opposite side of the city, which we never had previously. We've got some really, really strong leaders who work in our teaching and learning team. You know, starting with Mr. Element, who's the Vice Principal for Teaching, Learning, Curriculum. But it's not just Mr. Element and the team that are here now. I think over the past 5 years, there have been a number of staff who, some are still here, some have since left and moved on to other things. But what they do is they look at current research, they go and visit other schools, and we're not just talking about schools in Wolverhampton or within the Ormiston Academies Trust, the best schools across the country, look at what they are doing and try to emulate that and share some of that good practice. But we have a large body of staff who are constantly wanting to improve. And when you've got staff, you know, teaching and support staff that want to improve, that makes for a really, really formidable team, and that's what we've got amongst the staff at the minute. And when you've got some of the leaders that are driving those standards and quality assuring it and coaching those that need a bit of support, I think we're in a really, really strong position. Why are there rules? I mean, ultimately, rules keep people safe. If you think of why do you have rules in a sports fixture like a football match, they're to stop people getting hurt. Okay, school have rules for exactly the same reasons. Rules let everyone know where they stand, and if everyone is clear on the rules, then everyone knows where they are. It also helps us to maintain order and keep things calm. If there wasn't rules on the road, the likelihood, I'm not saying this would definitely happen, but the likelihood is that people would drive much faster and much more out of control. So the rules we have in the school ensure that people move around the building calmly, keep their hands to themselves, and that helps maintain that order and helps keep people focused. They're really essential for pupils with special educational needs who need things to be very, very explicit and very clear. And ultimately, rules are there to deter poor behaviour, and that's not just in a school, that's in society. So if you have someone that breaks the societal rules, whether that be driving rules, whether that be shoplifting, whether that be assault, there's obviously a very, very clear punishment that goes with that. In a school, we have to sanction for certain things, but the reason we do that is to make the children better, make better choices, much more informed choices, and ultimately to become better citizens when they leave SWB, which I believe that overwhelming vast majority are.